Welcome to another review and discussion. I'm Ace.
And I'm the Angry Raccoon.
And today we're going to be talking about the not controversial Death Note
Not at all.
Netflix film by Adam Wingard.
Directed, yes.
Yeah. I've seen the film. You haven't.
Yes, I decided not to watch it in the end. Simply, my main reason was I don't really want to support the practice of more potential bad anime adaptations coming out.
Right.
Simply put, it is nothing really against the film. I personally don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I don't really want to support the idea of them doing some serious damage.
Yeah. So, I think the first thing I'm going to say is I've seen every single, Death Note adaptation besides, stage plays or anything, 'cause there is one in Japan.
Of course.
So, I've read the manga, watched the anime, watched the Relight special, all 4 Japanese films. And
hold on a sec.
Yeah.
There's other films on Death Note?
I know. It's
Are you
a surprise.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I thought this was the first time they've ever done an adaptation other than the anime on Death Note.
Yeah, you'd think so, but apparently there's 4 others.
Wow, I mean, there's no way I could have known that. It's not as if I could have researched Death Note as a series.
Yeah.
Simply couldn't have done that.
And the live-action TV show, don't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I know my Death Note. I've watched it a lot.
I know it like the back of my book.
Yeah, literally. So, I watched this film twice.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it that much.
Oh, because you can. It's Netflix.
Yeah,
Exclusive-ish.
exactly. Yeah. So, think I'm going to address a few of the problems people have first.
Are they spoilerific?
Kind of. Yeah.
Because if they are, we might need to call the
Yeah.
spoiler warning.
I'll definitely say this section might have some minor spoilers.
We can't be spoiling
Yeah.
too much. So are we going to throw the spoiler warning?
Yeah,
Are we just
sure,
going to go
sure.
spoilers throughout?
We'll do spoiler, but
Okay.
when I definitely know there's going to be 4 more spoilers, very big ones. Then I'll definitely say a second spoiler warning, just in case.
Okay.
But I'll definitely say spoiler warning for the moment. So, I think for one of the first issues to address is the accusation of whitewashing. So, I can understand people's problems here. Obviously, characters traditionally Japanese in all of Death Note, and now they're doing an American one, all white. But it's a demographic thing. That's the main thing here. They're also trying to adapt the story to an American market, do the story about American people. That's why it's American Death Note. It's not Japanese Death Note. And we've got, as I've already explained, so many Japanese Death Note.
I would be very careful with the phrasing of Japanese Death Note and American Death Note. I would say another adaptation.
Yeah. So, and obviously this one is trying to be what about Death Note in America, specifically Seattle.
It's coming to America.
Yeah. So that's why the characters are white. And then they adapted the names, so obviously Light Yagami would not work. So now he's Light Turner. Misa Amane wouldn't work, so it's Mia Sutton, etc. And they actually, even some of the other stuff, so the term Shinigami does not appear in this. They use the term Death God.
Because that's what that means.
Sorry? Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah. Just obviously American.
Yeah.
And even how he uses the term Kira, they address.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, Kira apparently means light in Celtic and Russian.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually says, yeah, but it also means killer in Japanese, so they're going to think it's someone from Japan instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I quite like that. That was a nice little ego thing, whilst also him trying to be smart. And it worked really well for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the first issues. The other one being, it's...
real quick, before you go on to the next one.
Yeah.
It's not even an issue. I want to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. Simply put, guys. If you're worrying about that, click off this video. Simply put, don't watch the film. Continue living in your bubble. Simply put.
Yeah. The second big issue is it's so different from the manga. And yes, I think this is obvious. Cultural differences between America and Japan. One of the big things about Japan is how society makes people, be hard worker, and you end up focusing less on relationship. You end up working more. You end up striving to achieve the best. Comparatively to somewhere like America, where one of the prime things is, I want to impress girls, which is a very American thing. I can be smart and slacky, but, this girl's attractive, so I want to impress her. That's a big difference, and it changes character because of that.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think that's obvious, but people don't realize this. And
The problem is you kind of have this, I don't know the correct word, but you have like these few sides of the issue where it's essentially you have, one side who possibly wants a 100% accurate retelling of the whole series, but at the same time you have another side which wants something that is going to be appropriate for what they want to see in comparison to the original source material.
Yeah.
For me, when it comes to changing up the source material, I am fine as long as the change makes sense.
Yeah.
And as long as it has some kind of quality assurance.
Yeah.
If you do an adaptation of Death Note and it gets to the point where it has nothing to do to Death Note, there's no point in making it, and that will make me really angry.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, it's because the way I see it, it's an adaptation. Whether I like it or not, it's an adaptation of this story. Trust me, in a couple of years' time, maybe 50, 100 years' time, depending on how popular Death Note or other stories are, they will keep retelling it, simply put, and that's all it is another story. You know, you think the stories we have today started in your country? Hell no.
No. I mean,
it's just a modern adaptation of that.
Yeah. And I would say it does justify everything. All the characters' actions, the characters themselves.
And that's where it starts to get confusing, because people are adding justifications of previous characters to these characters and going, this is incorrect because this character from this adaptation wouldn't have done this thing. And it's like, well,
that isn't that character.
You're getting things upset.
Exactly.
I mean, some level of suspension of disbelief for the most part, and there's nothing wrong with you disliking how these characters act or liking them or whatever. That's fine. It's your opinion. But when you are so hell-bent on not necessarily thinking you're right, but thinking that the film has done 100% wrong in your eyes is where the problem will start to arise. Once again, whether you think the film is bad or good. If you have legit criticism, like hated the acting, hated the score, whatever, fine. You know what I mean? But when your criticism is simply, it's not like the manga, anime, or whatever, and no basis on that, and you don't understand the idea of, hey, you know, this is an adaptation, this is another story. You know what I mean? I don't see people getting angry at reading a story about the, you know, Red Riding Hood and going, well, Red Riding Hood would never do this.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't see people getting upset. And Red Riding Hood has been told 1,000 times. It's going to be told 1,000 more times by the time everyone's dead. So.
And sometimes those adaptations can add something interesting that you wouldn't have seen.
Something different or new or nothing.
And I always find it more interesting when they try to do something different. It's one thing I hate with Ghost in the Shell. They didn't do anything different. They just slammed everything together. And it didn't make sense because they misunderstood why things were how they were originally.
And with my personal opinion, it's more the case of, I would rather you didn't do an adaptation. I would rather you take inspiration from that and do your own thing. If you want to make a film about a emo serial killer kid who has the power of death and gods, make a story like that. Don't, not to say that Death Note has done this, I'm saying, don't just copy and just go, I'll take the rights to Death Note and make a shit film because the name alone will sell it 100%. No, make a film and then in the interview you can say, Death Note was my inspiration. This is my inspiration. I took that and that, because every creative person in the world has copied someone to get where they are to really define everything. Adam Wingard is still there. He's unfortunately for me still copying, but at the same time, he's gonna get there where he's got that. I have my style. You go, that's an Adam Wingard film right there. You know, same thing with a lot of things for the most part. That's the way I see it.
The funny thing is, I would say this feels like an Adam Wingard film. Like, you put this in The Guest next to each other, I'm like, this is the Wingard.
I would only say that in terms of cinematography, but I know what you mean.
I would even say tone as well. Like, the tone works so well. Like, besides the premise of he has a death note so he can kill people, it feels very much in line with The Guest, and it works. It's not like, that doesn't make sense for Death Note. It's like, oh my god, he just makes it work.
Part of the expanded Adam Wingard cinematic
universe. Yeah. And I need to check a film that he did before, like, The Guest and You're Next, because I can't remember the name, but it sounds interesting, and it sounds like that's he was big break in film.
That's the problem I have with a lot of his films, is the concepts are very interesting. but they kind of fall flat. Not necessarily for his fault, but something doesn't quite work with a lot of his films.
Yeah.
The only exclusion being the awful Blair Witch remake, because that was just garbage.
Yeah. So, now I'm going to go into the full proper spoilers here.
Yes. 10 minutes in, let's go in.
Okay.
So spoilers throughout, guys. If you've not seen
Definitely.
the film, go watch it. If you have Netflix, go watch it or don't watch it. It's up to you. But we're doing spoilers from here on out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, I love Light Turner in this. He is amazing. He's the American, like, outsider teen who's really smart. Like, he does people's homework for money. And, you know, he's clearly pissed off with them, like, the world. His mum got killed by a gangster, like, run over, like, by a gangster's like son or something, and he got away with it. He's pissed off with that. He lives in a shitty kind of house in which trains go past and it makes everything shake, and people getting bullied, and when he tries to intervene he just gets decked. He gets knocked the fuck out. So obviously he's very pissed at the world. He's attracted to this girl and she doesn't really seem to notice. Like, she kind of does, but she doesn't as well, because he's just like and he gets a death note. At first he's kind of like, what the fuck? This is a dumb joke. And then there's a really amazing horror scene when Ryuk first appears. And Light is like a little bitch. He screams, and it's the best scream of 2017. It's amazing. And he's all like trying to hide, and then he's like, no, don't worry, kid. I'm a death god. Look outside, and he kind of tempts Light into, you know, writing this guy's name in, and it's gruesome. The guy's head gets knocked the fuck off, and there's blood, and it shows the horror of actually using a death note. It's terrifying. And obviously, you know, he's like, I've got this cool power now, you know, I can get revenge and
Time
shit.
to abuse it.
Exactly. And then it's like, that pretty girl, I could impress her. So it's like, hey, go and watch this. And then it's like, holy shit, you have power. It's like, yes, I do. And they kind of become this almost like Bonnie Clyde, just like killing people, and just like, it's like, oh, why don't we kill this guy? And then they just start fucking or something. It's like, they're clearly getting off on the problems each other have. And then we get L. And L is very much like the character from the manga and anime, but it makes sense. He's the smart, detective-y kind of person, but he's more emotional. And I like this, because he actually feels like a human. He still eats his sweets, and he even wears the white like shirt at one point, like the full white long sleeve top, in a nice little homage, because it's the scene closest to anything in the anime and manga. Like when the all the investigators are getting killed. They literally happening off a building. And trust me...
I like the thing you put happening off a building.
The thing is, you'd think, oh, that's kind of funny. But then they splatter, and you see how disgusting that is. And you're like, this isn't the happening.
No.
This is gruesome.
No.
So you kind of have this thing, and he's kind of like, yeah, it's Seattle, you know, we need to find this guy. And he kind of discovers, like, hey, Mr. Turner, you know, you're actually a pretty good detective. You're going to help me. And he goes on TV, and it's like, yeah, Kira, if you can kill me, then fucking kill me already. And Mia tries to kill him, like L. No, sorry, she tries to kill, like, Light's dad. And he's like, no, fuck off, you're not doing this. And she ends up stealing it, like the Death Note, and killing all the investigators and everything. And then there's a nice little confrontation between Elle and Kira in cafe. And it's like, yeah, you're Kira. And he's like, okay, if I was Kira, what if I was to tell you that I'm kind of terrified right now and I need help? Because Ryuk's literally every scene, he's basically laughing at Light at points and saying, I like this guy better. It's almost like an abusive, like, mental disorder in a way.
Or essentially the devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, in a way. Again, it's very Americanized. It's not like the Shinigami is kind of goofy and spiritual. It's like really a literal god of death reaper kind of shit.
Literally your inner demons manifest.
Yeah. And it almost comes across of like he has these mental issues, and Elle's just like, no, don't even go there, because I've heard people use this excuse before. Okay? People do this when they know they're being caught. So don't fuck with me like this. And So Light does the interesting thing that no one's ever done so far, really. He gets watery, like by, using the Death Note to control his mind and everything, to try and find Elle's identity from the original orphanage Elle was in, like where they were trying to raise like super smart kids.
Mm-hmm.
And Watery gets shot the fuck up by a bunch of security guard like people going after him, because that was in the Death Note, and Mia fucked over intentionally because she has her own plans.
Mm-hmm.
And Elle gets pissed. He gets a gun. He said earlier, he's like, I don't carry guns because they distract me. They are horrible. And there's like a nice 5-minute neon-tinged chase scene between Elle and Kira. Oh, it's so good. And you got this this synth track that sounds like a hybrid of the track from the Warriors, where the Baseball Furies are chasing the Warriors, mixed with the undertow of like do 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 from Death Note anime. Mm-hmm. It's like a great hybrid. Honestly, the music throughout the whole thing is fantastic.
No, sorry, I was just thinking of something in particular. Go on.
Yeah, but soundtrack is amazing throughout. They've got 80s pop music and synth throughout, and I love it. Including a nice like homecoming bit where like Take My Breath Away is playing. And no, it works. It sounds really kitschy, but
it does.
Works so well, because literally at that point in time, Light has realised that Mia's been fucking him over, and that she wants the Death Note, and she's literally saying, "Get me my fucking Death Note, or you're dying tonight," because she wrote his name on the paper. Yeah, she's literally taking over and going mental. And when he finds this kind of stuff out, he sees her in like the homecoming dance kind of thing. It's like, oh, and that music's playing. It's like, it's so good. It works so well, and it all ends obviously on like the wheel. It works though.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, getting a lot of flashbacks to Spider-Man.
Yes. So obviously Mia, she's got her plan. She wants the Death Note. She wants the power. Light wants the Death Note back.
First you get the money,
yeah.
Then you get the power, then you get the women.
Yeah, Ryuk's all like, he's loving it.
Just dancing in midair.
Yeah, he's literally enjoying it. It's like, wow, you guys are fucking hilarious. This is great. This is like popcorn entertainment. He doesn't literally say that, but you can tell.
Does he get a box of popcorn, materialize it out of thin air?
He kind of stands there and watches.
Oh, that'd be great if...
Yeah.
I'm guessing where the first wheel is, there's like a popcorn stand. He just goes, yoink.
I do kind of wish that. And like, sorry, I forgot to mention, during that chase scene, Elle corners Light, and he's got a gun to him, and someone comes out from a restaurant, and Elle says, "Stop, this is Kira, I'm with the police, don't do anything." And the guy smacks Elle over the back of the head, and he's like, "Thank you, Kira." And Kira runs off, and it's like, someone who believes in the god of Kira helping Kira
would do that, because
exactly.
Given the stories, they would legit do that.
Yeah, and there was a nice montage where everyone's like Kira, and there's like candles spelling it out and everything, graffiti everywhere saying Kira saves and stuff. So you get this feeling of they're actually new gods, something that you don't get too much in the anime. Which
it's something that within the anime and manga could.
The manga does it.
But the anime doesn't quite do it as strong, because when I read the manga, I was like, oh wow, this ends the series
so
much better, you know, because I do have issues with
the anime,
the anime and parts of where it kind of ends for the most part, and I was kind of like, but you know,
and so obviously they're on the wheel. Mia's written it so that Light's heart will like stop beating at midnight. But she'll burn the paper, because that's how, like, there's different rules in this, slightly different.
Course, yeah.
And one of the rules is if you take out a page with someone's name on it and you burn it, they won't die. Like, obviously before their time is up. Mm-hmm. So she's written that in, she has the page, and like he's been scheming. Once he found out she fucked him over, he started scheming. And he's got the plan of, if she takes the book from him, she will fall off the wheel and go, like, smash on the ground and die. But the note with his name on it will fall into flame and burn, so he'll still live. Yeah, and he'll end up falling and like surviving, and he's written like 2 criminals to like come and get him to keep him healthy, and then they'll die after he's like awoken from his coma. And it just plays out so great. You've got this really cheesy 80s song playing over it, and it works. And you just see her dropping almost like Gollum, like it works so well. You see light dropping, and then you see the note falling into like a barrel with fire next. You know, people do that to keep warm during winter night.
Sure.
And Elle's there, and he sees the note dropping, and he reads it, and he sees light turn his heart with doubt. You know, you can see in his face, he's like, what the fuck is happening? And obviously you get this whole thing of Elle's being like told, it's like, no, you fucked up. Kira's still killing and Light's in a coma. You know, you go wrong. You've obviously got it wrong because Light planned this. He got it smart right in the end. And then Elle ends up doing some investigating, and he starts realizing that Mia was working with him. He thought she was just, you know, a girlfriend. He was very dismissive. He was like, okay, fuck off. And he ends up going like to Mia's room, finding the like a page of the Death Note that's got a bunch of names in it, and those were all the investigators who got killed. And he's standing there with a pen, and he's looking at this picture of like Light and Mia. Obviously Mia's dead, Light's still alive though. And meanwhile, Light is talking to his dad, basically saying, yeah, I'm Kira, because his dad kind of knows. And then Ryuk
So proud of you, son.
Yeah. And the dad's kind of like, are you the lesser of 2 evils then? You know, what are you? And Light's about to talk, and then Ryuk just pops up, and he just looks at Light, laughing, and Light's like, what's so funny? And Ryuk's like, you humans are so interesting. And Light gets a really shocked face, like, what the fuck? And it cuts. Film ends. And you're like, holy shit, what happened? Did Elle fall victim to do it and kill, like, is he going to kill Light? Or is Elle kill himself? It just works so well. I kind of love it. And during the credits, you've got this nice montage of, like
all the
outtakes.
manga pages. Okay. No.
No, you got outtakes. So you've got, like, a scene where, like, you know, Light's doing something, then Puff falls into his face by accident, and then ones of, like, Willem Dafoe doing his lines. Really nice outtakes. But
very bizarre for this time.
Yeah, it was odd, but it works really well.
I would also bet that they probably did that.
Yeah.
Because of how horrific the film was. Just go, no, it's okay. It's fun acting, kind of. It's still a film at the end of the day, kids. Because any kid could watch this. I really like this film. I really liked it. The fact that Light wasn't this uber mensch like in the Japanese one, which it worked as a product of Japanese society. Yes.
Light's character. This one, it works as a product of American society, in which he's basically outcast, school kid, who's, you know, finds a girl attractive, wants to impress her, but is also almost like a school shooter in how fucked up his brain is.
Yes, and that's something which, this may sound fucked up as well at the same time, as a concept which I think is something that really should be explored within like writing.
Yeah.
The only other people who have done it as successfully is the Dirties.
Yeah.
If you watch that film, which is great. But I was kind of suspecting that kind of angle coming from his kind of character for the most part. But the film, as it is, you obviously enjoy it, and obviously we've talked about people's opinions. We don't need to talk about people's other opinions for the most part. I do kind of find it odd because it's almost as if they've done their own story with the concept as it is. Someone's kind of looked at this and gone, not necessarily I see the potential, but someone, maybe Adam Wingard himself, has gone, I see my story in this to some extent, but trying to stay as faithful as possible, like almost like he's kind of taken the best aspects of the core of the story and kind of not necessarily gone, that needs to be improved, that shit, change that. He's kind of gone, well, how I would do this story.
Yes.
And that's the kind of the right mentality you need to go with when you're kind of doing something like this, given from what you've said and how you've described it. Hopefully you're not lying about that.
No.
But
no.
I'm joking, obviously. But it is kind of interesting, and I do find the where it's coming from very interesting. I mean, I don't think I'll be watching it anytime soon.
Fair enough.
Which is fine, because my opinions on it is that I might not like it.
Yeah.
And that's how it stands.
Yeah.
Simply put, and I'm just not interested in, like I said, a real disaster happening. Because I'm just not about that. But given the film as it is, and given where it stands as an anime adaptation or a Western adaptation of an anime film, would you say this is the only good one?
As far as I know, yes. It's
Okay.
the only good live-action anime adaptation that I know of. Yeah. Certainly the only one I enjoyed. I did not like Dragon Ball Evolution. Didn't like Lost.
Who did?
There's probably someone out there.
No one did.
Didn't like Ghost in the Shell.
Of course.
I don't know what other ones. I haven't seen the Attack on Titan one properly. I've just kind of laughed on that. But that was a Japanese one, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that doesn't count.
Although there are rumours of them doing an American, Western-based one, but
Say it in Germany, it might work.
could work. Yes,
Yeah.
set in Switzerland where it's nice and peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There are rumours of Attack on Titan film because it's just so popular over there, and it's transcended. It's one of the more mainstream ones, but I think they're kind of just figuring out how do we do it.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese one, whatever you think of it, is still pretty damn impressive for what it is. And I think America kind of looked at that and went, okay, we can't steal that. For the most part, that's fine. It's interesting you feel that way about the Death Note film. The only issue I can kind of see with the film itself would being the ending, not the carousel itself, but the I don't know, the probability of what he's writing in the Death Note. I kind of have a few issues with, where it's kind of seems like it's transcending beyond just this person will die, and it's kind of almost to the point where you're like dictating life itself. And I understand part of that is part of how the Death Note, obviously they will die like this, but I do find the idea of like kind of writing very specific things and kind of happening, like if you're going to do that, make the Death Note more powerful. Don't just have it as a tool that kills people. Have it be something that actually can dictate probability and the future and all that kind of stuff.
Basically, that kind of rule is, I think, almost word for word taken from the manga.
Yes.
In which, like, you can control someone's actions up until 2 days as long as it's within ability of them to do.
Yeah.
So he ends up doing that. So he gets this like doctor who ends up putting him into a medically induced coma for 2 days and then killing himself. So it works like that, and I feel like they have justified every use of the Death Note that gets used in here.
Because I don't have a problem with it. I would just, my issue would be is they could go too far with it. To the point where it's some real probable bullshit that like is goes beyond just, because I understand the whole point of the power and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just a bit worried that could mess them up or could have messed them up in some sense. And not that I'm doubting that ability, because I understand that's how the Death Note works, but I think when you were kind of saying the whole, Light Road, this is going to happen, this is going to fall, and it was kind of just like, there's a lot of things that could easily stop that from happening, even given the power of the Death Note itself, as other stories have proven. With that kind of power, it doesn't always quite work like that. And I think that would be a concept for the probable sequels, for them to, if they're going to do something like that, define, expand, make sure it's solid. Because that's really cool for you to go, right, we did Death Note, now we're going to do expansion of Death Note and all these other kind of crazy things. Because when the sequel comes out, of course it's going to be an original film. Whether I don't personally think it's going to continue with the characters as it is. But I think it's going to be brand new characters personally. Because Netflix is really vouching on a film series, big time. 3 more films.
One thing I'll say 2 things. So obviously, first thing about the whole Death Note thingy, they do kind of try and show you early about like how the Death Note arranges events to happen. So, like, the first one, when the kid gets decapitated and it's all gruesome, it shows you, so there are, like, 2 people walking and another lady's walking, and then they accidentally budge into each other. She ends up dropping her stuff. Someone ends up swerving and going into the road, and then the truck swerves, and it has a ladder on the top, and the ladder extends and just guts it. So, it does try to explain...
Like, that's fine, but my issue is when you start putting in bullshit details, because you could have had that scene where Light decides not only is she gonna fall to her death and he's gonna be perfectly fine. He could start doing some other bullshit where it was like, and then the sun doesn't rise because I fucking said so, or something like that.
As I said, it's only within reason.
Of course, but at the same time, given that you need to be careful with that kind of thing, because
they do mention that. 'Cause I think at one point they ask Watery to literally say, "Tell us what Elle's name is," and he says, "I don't have that information."
Yeah.
So yeah,
you got to be careful with a very big concept, like that. And that's my only concern is that kind of stuff doesn't work for me, because it's the same thing with time travel to some extent, where you can't really explain it and no one can really write it. And for me, it always kind of falls short, no matter how clever it is. And if they come out of it with the sense of, it's a supernatural book, don't question it, that's fine. But you need to be careful, because you need to be careful of that concept. Because like I said, like, could have gone crazy and he could have been like, and there's going to be John over there and he will watch, and I'll make sure he watches it, and I'll make sure he witnesses her die so that she can, and then it's like, fine, he's a smart kid, whatever, good writing, whatever. You need to be careful.
Yeah, they never went anywhere that far.
But the problem is they could.
But I think they're smart enough not to.
And that's what I hope.
Yeah.
But the problem is they could.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want to do. Yeah. Because I don't want the sequel to end with, I wrote it all down in my Death Note book, because that would be dumb.
Yeah. And that's the thing, unlike a lot of things where it's like, oh my god, I did this ultra smart thing and you never saw me. Mm-hmm. Those two guys, like the surgeon and the other guy, right at the end, well, the doctor and the other guy who Light uses to help him, you literally see him at one point running to the school library, going on a computer, typing up, you see the faces and he writes the names. Mm-hmm. You don't see what he says, but it actually showed you ahead of time that he has something planned. Mm-hmm. And it showed the people. So yeah, that's another thing, that it was handled well. They don't just pull it out of their arse like, no, I did this.
My quarry is the quarry basically is the possibility, because if you have something good and something you can really expand on, sometimes if you do decide to expand on that, you can end up shooting yourself big time. And I do not, if they've got something good, I don't want them to do that, because like I said, with this possible sequel, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to, and I don't want them to go, right, we can do everything, which now makes no sense, and we completely undermine the whole point of the Death Note, and now it's not just something that can kill people, it's something that controls the universe. Yeah. Which is something, like I said, that some, not necessarily a writer or a director, Adam Wingard, could come in, something an idiot can come in and suggest, and, Netflix and kind of go, well, if we make the story, like I said, I don't want the second film to end with, look, he read it all in Death Note. It was all perfect. It went,
So not Silent Hill Book of Memories.
No, basically.
The other thing, Adam Wingard did say he'd love to do a sequel or 2 more films, because he really enjoyed this and he really likes Death Note. So
why not?
Exactly. I hope Netflix allows him to do this.
I'd rather him do Death Note than Godzilla versus King Kong. Yeah. He's so miscast for that. Yeah. That's not his forte.
You're just going to have this amazing 80s synth soundtrack as these two monsters battle it out, and I'm going to be like, yay!
While they chase each other with a gun.
Yeah.
And down the neon lights of Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah. I'm more interested in this film now. Neon Kong versus God Neon.
Why not? Why not? Why not just make the film actually about 2 guys dressed as King Kong and Godzilla, and it's a Hong Kong heist film?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Just call it that.
Yeah.
Giving you ideas, Adam Wingard. Yeah. Come on, let's work together on this. I'll take 10%.
But, the last thing I want to leave off with is how amazing Ryuk is.
In what terms?
He is terrifying. Scary, like literally sometimes you'll literally just see his eyes glowing in the background and his silhouette.
Fantastic shot.
It happens a lot. Mm-hmm. Even one bit where Watery's running through this hallway and he's like Ryuk standing against the glass and you just see his silhouette and eyes, and it's like, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen him, he looks like, he does look fucking weird as hell. Yeah. He looks like what you would imagine a demon to look like, and that's understandable. If you had something following you like that, you wouldn't really like that. You probably wouldn't be sleeping at night. Yeah. Knowing that thing just floats, flies and floats to some extent. But and, yes.
In the Death Note, in the rule page, a human wrote down, "Don't trust Ryuk," and Light actually asks Ryuk this, and Ryuk said, "Someone's tried, but my name has 4 letters. They only got to 2." And it's like, That's the most chilling threat I've heard. That is great. So, yeah. I'd love to see that kind of thing addressed in a sequel.
Willem Dafoe did well.
He did amazing.
I mean, I'm not going to doubt that he wouldn't.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He suited it so well, and you can see him enjoying it in the credits.
Of course.
Yeah. You just see him with the, like, CG stuff on his face, and he's, like, Green Goblin it out.
Like, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
Green Goblin, that was just a warm-up.
And that's for real. They use a hybrid of physical and CG effects, and it looks amazing.
I was actually very interested to see how they were going to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, you see a bit of that in the credits. Like, you see a guy in a suit, and then you've got Willem Dafoe with a CG face.
And even like how they did it in the Japanese films as well was like kind of like a mishmash of something that didn't. I think the Japanese film was very smart to kind of have it look like odd.
Yeah. It was
CG,
like a
kind
CG
of like
cartoon
weird, which I think oddly works. I'm not sure if intentional, but it just works because it's a demon. It's not from this world. That kind of stuff.
But I wholeheartedly recommend this to everyone, even the weeaboos, because they deserve a good film to watch.
They got tons of good films.
They deserve more good films.
If you're just talking about live action films, then yeah, okay, no.
They need to step away from their waifus and watch a good film.
You want to be careful with that, yeah.
I think we should just cut at that.
We'll see you in the next review and discussion.
Bye.
Latest.